Hello, math students. In this video, I'm going to do a quick recap of Chapter 1, Lesson 2. In Chapter 1, Lesson 2, the name of the game was evaluating expressions. And the first thing we talked about was what the heck it means to evaluate something in math. That just means to find the value of something. So when you are asked to evaluate something, those directions mean simplify it down to a single value where possible. And when we evaluate numerical expressions in math, there's a certain way that it must be done so that we all can obtain the same answer, and we use something called order of operations. Many of you know that as Pemdas, or we talked about how you might know that as Gemdas, depending on your preference. But either way, order of operations, the first thing we're dealing with is the P parentheses. Some people will use a G for grouping symbols because, as we've seen, you'll see parentheses, but you also might see like brackets or the curly brackets that I can't draw very well, grouping symbols. Next, in our order of operations, is you're looking for anything that involves exponents. After you've knocked out parentheses and exponents, you're looking for either multiplication or division. We also talked about in this class how multiplication and division, one does not always come before the other. Just because it's PEMDAS does not mean we multiply before we divide all the time. In fact, sometimes multiplication will come second to division. It just depends on the order that those operations appear from left to right. So if you have a problem that's like 3 divided by 1 times 4, you're actually going to divide first because division comes first in order from left to right. And the same is true for our last two operations, addition and subtraction. They're on equal playing field as well. One does not come before the other always. It just matters what comes in order from left to right first. So there's not much more to talk about. I'm going to whip through two examples here. You're welcome to pause the screen too if you'd like some extra practice problems. Here they are. I'm going to look at numbers 6 and numbers 7. So if you want to try them yourself and then follow along, feel free to pause the video, try the problem, and then check your work against mine. For number 6, it's parentheses first. I'll write my little checklist. So I'm going to be multiplying 5 by 5 because the first step is parentheses, and inside of the parentheses I've got 5 squared minus 7. Well, I'm going to do exponents first, and then I'm going to subtract, which gets me 18. And then I had also talked about how it's a good practice to rewrite the whole problem, everything that you didn't use yet, and then go back through your order of operations checklist. So are there any parentheses anymore? No. Are there any exponents? Yes. And I chose this problem because look, right here, there's an exponent outside of the parentheses, which means you're going to do everything inside of the parentheses first. And then whatever the parentheses results, that's going to get this exponent of 2, which in this case is an 18. So we're going to be doing 18 to the second power. 18 times 18 is 324. So now we've got 16 plus 324 divided by 3. 324 divided by 3 is 108, and 16 plus 108 is 124. So this problem here results in 124 as a final answer, following our order of operations. The second problem I chose is number 7. I chose it for a specific reason. We talked about in class so far this year that multiplication you've oftentimes seen written like this, 3 times 4 times 7. With the x, we don't use that in math. Typically, we'll use either a dot or we'll write numbers in parentheses right next to one another. This is another way to write 3 times 4 times 7 when you just see things in parentheses right next to one another. So in problem 7, we actually see an instance of that. We've got 6 directly next to the parentheses here. That means 6 times everything in the parentheses. So let's do this problem. The first thing I'm going to do is 12 divided by 4, which is 3. And then I'm going to rewrite the whole rest of the problem. Next, I'm going to do these exponents, which is 64. I'm actually going to move up here because I'll have more space. 50 plus 6 times 3 minus 64. Next, I'm going to multiply because I multiply before I add or subtract. So now I'm at 50 plus 18 minus 64. And then in order from left to right, addition and subtraction, 68 minus 64, which is 4. So final answer is 4. And that's a quick little recap of order of operations, Pemdas, with a couple pointers on multiplication and exponents. Good luck. If you need more help, reach out. Otherwise, study and do your best. See ya.